afternoon, everybody. November 23rd, and we are continuing in Perek Tet of Mesilat Yesharim. We were in the middle of discussing the character trait of zidizut, of being excited and performing mitzvot with excitement and rushing to do mitzvot. So we were up to the part where he's telling us things, Ramchal is telling us things that will stop you from attaining that characteristic of zidizut. So here we go. Od mi mafsideh, on page Kufnan Aleph, Perek Tet in Mesilat Yesharim. Od mi mafsideh zidizut. Other things that will cause you to lose out on the characteristic trait of zidizut. Rava pahad, the godel hamora min hazeman v'todotav. Being fearful, and over here we'll see it means like overly fearful, of being afraid of events occurring, or things happening that you are, that you're concerned with. You say, "Oh, I can't go out." We'll see in a minute. Let him explain better than me. Kipam, you'll see. One time you'll tell me, it's too cold out. I don't want to go out tonight. Oh, I might get sick. Or it's too hot out. Oh, I'm going to get dehydrated. I can't go out to class tonight. Oh, oh, if to worry, something's going to, on the road, going to attack me. Sickness. Oh, it's too windy. Anything like that, where the person starts to get, overly nervous. Amar asel, the lazy person will tell you, shahal baderich, there's snakes on the road, ari ben arehovot, there's a lion out in the streets. Ukvar ginu chachamim zichronan levracha hamidah hazot. The rabbis, spoke, disparagingly about someone who has this characteristic trait. V'hasua ela hataim. They put this type of characteristic on someone that's a sinner. Umikra misayam. There is a pasuk that assists them to do that, to say that this person who is, being too concerned is a sinner. Pahadu b'Sion hataim. Ahazara ada hanefim. The ones, those are in Sion that were fearful. Hataim. It doesn't say that they, residents of Sion. It says they're hataim, they're sinners. So what? Because they were pahadu, they were afraid. Ahazara ada means like the shaking, right? When you're fearful and you're shaking. Hanefim. Ad she'amar echad min hagdolim el tamido bir'oto mitpahad. There was once, to be Yohanan, I think, if I said the same in Maseh Berachot, they told one of his students who was being fearful, he told him, Hata'at, you're a sinner. Ela al ze ne'emar, betach b'Adonai v'aseh tov, shechon eretz ur'eh emunah. Right? Trust in Hashem, you'll do good, dwell in the land, ur'eh emunah, you should have faith. Okay? And now, klalo shel davar, this is okay, I know we're all thinking the same thing because I was thinking it also, but he's going to verbalize your thoughts in a second and respond to them, because we're all thinking, what do you mean? If I need to stay, there's a line in the street, of course I don't want to go outside, right? So klalo shel davar, he says the summary is tzarich sheyasim adam et atzmo arai ba'olam, to put yourself in this world knowing that you're temporarily here. V'kavua ba'avodah, my job over here is to fulfill Hashem's desires, the will of Hashem, the work that I have to do here. You should be satisfied with what's coming your way in this world. Take that which was given to you. Right? You got to stay away from too much rest. Closer to being busy all the time. Right? Allow your heart to have full faith in Hashem. Don't be afraid of what's to come. Okay, things that could occur. Now, Shema Tomar, what do you mean? Says the Rahal. Well, you got to tell me now. Like I started to say, right? Of course, it's going to address the question of what do you mean? How could you tell me that I should be careful or ignore things that are dangerous? That doesn't make any sense. Well, we know very clearly that a person is obligated to watch themselves, right? Not to put yourself in danger. Even if you're a righteous person, you have a lot of zichuyot, you have a lot of merits. Nevertheless, Amru, Masechet Ketubot, Kol Hakol B'Yedei Hashamayim, Chutz Mitzinim Pachim. Right? Everything. I thought it was Upachim. Pretty sure there's a vav in there. I need to check the Gemara. Maybe I'm mistaken, but okay. Anyway, hakol b'yedei shamayim. Everything is in the hands of heaven except for tzinim, which is really cold weather, and pachim, which is very hot weather. And those things, right? It's possible a person can catch cold or whatever, get sick based on the temperatures. Umikra katuv. Another pasuk says, "V'nishmartem me'od lenefshotechem." Right now, since sinim and pachim are not in the control of b'dei shamayim, shalom, of course, everything is, but those are given permission to to affect the person sometimes. So and I have an obligation as mishmartem me'od lenefshotechem. So if it's freezing, maybe I shouldn't go out to class, right? He says no. Hare she'en lachlit habitachon al zeh, right? Al kol panim vehatam amru afilu dvar mitzvah. The Gemara over there says even for a dvar mitzvah, I need to be careful, right? Da ki yesh yirah v'yesh yirah, says the Ramchal. I'll answer for you. You should know there's different types of fear. Yesh yirah re'uya, v'yesh yirah shota, right? There is fear that's merited, and there's fear that's nonsense. Yesh bitachon, there is what's called relying on Hashem, having faith, having trust. The yesh holilut, there's some also that are nonsense. You can't, jump off the building and expect that Hashem is going to save you because you have bitachon, right? Ki hineha adon baruch hu asat ha'adam ba'al sechel. Hashem created, right, man with knowledge, with understanding. Nachon usvara nechona, clear mind. Shinheg atzmo al derech tov. We have like an inherent nature, right? It's our instinct to make sure that we survive, right? That we should want to go and continue to live. Right? We try to stay away intentionally from things that are dangerous. Those things were created, says the Ramchal, to punish the wicked. Right? If someone doesn't want to follow these natural instincts to protect himself, he's going to say, I'm just going to, walk in the middle of the highway and I'm not going to get hit by the car, right? That's not faith, having faith. That's being dumb, right? That's sinning because that's against your nature. God didn't put this nature in you, these instincts, to protect yourself. Of course, Hashem wants us to protect ourselves. That's the way we can survive in order to continue to do mitzvot. Right? It comes out that what you're besides the danger, right, that's there, you are now, right, I'm not sure what he wants to say there. Let's take a look. He says, so the outcome, okay, fine. The danger is there. The outcome is going to happen. You know what's going to happen if you walk on the highway, in the middle of the highway. You know what's going to happen, right? I'm going to have faith. It's not going to happen. Of course it's going to happen. That's dumb. If that's what he does, he's actually going to be responsible for his own neshama, right? With a kum aseh, meaning he was actively sinning against himself by not protecting himself. That will cause him to be punished. Ulam, however, he says, Shmirah hazot v'zot hayirah miyusedet al hanagat ha'chokhmah v'hasekel hiya re'uya. Right? The what he's talking about over here is having a fear that's beyond the normal. That's what he's saying. Normal fear, Shmirah hazot, that's re'uya. Normal. It's understood, right? I know that I can't cross the street when the light's green, right? That's normal. So that fear of crossing when it's the light, when the cars are coming, that's re'uya, that's sechel. That's what we say, arum ra'a v'nistar uptayim aviru v'nashu, right? The smart one, right, saw the danger and he stayed away. And the dumb person, the petty, the simple man, right, aviru, he tried to cross v'nashu, they were punished. Okay, he's talking over here about a person who's got this, some kind of sickness where they're overly too much worried about too much. They project, possibilities of what can happen and are afraid of those possibilities. They're living in their imagination of what the outcome potentially could come. They find any small little dangerous potential, and then they become afraid of that, and it stops them from fulfilling, life. And that's what he's saying is an obstacle to becoming zaris. Because if you start to project too much into the future about every little possible dangerous outcome, bad outcome, you become paralyzed and you can't do anything. Oh, I got to do this, and I can't do that because I got to be careful for this, and I got to be careful for this. Fear upon fear. What's going to come out of it is bitul Torah. He's never going to leave the house. He's not able to do work. He's not going to do anything. The rule. How do I know the difference between what's a valid fear and what's an invalid fear? Because you're telling me now the invalid fear is the one that he's talking about over here, that's going to stop you from attaining the characteristic of zirizut. So how do I know what's real and what's fearful and what I should be feared from, what I shouldn't? How do I know? To be able to tell the difference between the two. Okay, that literally means in a place where it's common that there's danger, that's different. Which means the common danger is the one you need to fear. Right? It's readily available. It's understood. People know. That's the one you need to be careful of, right? You can't cross the street when the cars are coming and the light's green for the cars, right? You got to wait for the light to turn so you can cross. No, so pashut, that fear that we have to step off the sidewalk when the cars are coming by, that's normal. That's the normal one, because that's hezek, that's shachiach, right? It's danger that is very readily visible. If there's a place where it's not known if this is dangerous, right? It's not automatically an instinct that this particular act that you're doing is dangerous. There's nothing to fear from. Right? The guy who's walking on the sidewalk, right, is not fearful most of the time, unless he's got one of these problems. Oh, I can't walk on the sidewalk because maybe if I walk on the sidewalk, there's going to be somebody on their bicycle. If the bicycle guy comes in now, I have to move out of the way for the bicycle, and I'm going to move to the street. I have to move to the street, then the car's going to come. Right? So that's where he starts to get abnormal. Right? A danger that we can't see, we cannot anticipate, we cannot be mahazik, means that we can't assume that it's there. If I can't see it, it's not there. That's what he's saying. Person who's wise can only judge based on what he actually sees or what he knows to be true. That is the understanding of the pasuk that I brought before. Lemala arum ra'a v'nistar. The wise person saw danger and he stayed away. Right? It's only talking about a person who's staying away. He's hiding from the danger that he saw. It's not what could be that a possibility. Of course, anything's possible. But if I have to start to worry about everything, this is possible, and this is possible, and this is possible. Shahal baderech ari ben rehovot. That's the pasuk I talked about before. There's a snake on the road. The lions are out in the street. Yeah, okay. Well, sometimes there are. Some they're not. You walk down on pick a street, King's Highway. You don't find snakes, right? Chachamim zichronam levracha pirshu ha'inyan kemin homer laharot ad hechan magaat yirat hahevel. Okay, the rabbis are going to explain. He says they use an analogy, right? So something that will moshech, to grab you, right, to tell you how to understand that how far this can go. The yirat hahevel hafrish adam min ha'ma'aseh tov. How far this nonsense, this fear, can keep a person from acting properly. Ve'amru, what did they say? They said shiv'a divarim amar Shlomo ba'asel. Shlomo HaMelech said 7 things about a lazy person. Ketzad, how? Amro la'atzel harera becha ba'ir. You know your rabbi's in town? Tell this atzel guy. You know your rabbi's in town? So he says, Lech ulmod Torah mimenu. Why don't you go learn? The rabbis in town, go to class. Vehu meshiv otam. This guy answers back, no, mityare ani min ha'arisha baderech. I'm worried that there might be lions in the streets. So they tell you, okay, Rabbecha betocha medina. He's not outside the city. He's in the town. He's in the city, not outside. In the fields, yeah, there's lions, maybe, okay, but in the town, the city is no there. No, but I'm worried there might be the lion. He came into the gates of the city and he's walking in the street. No, don't worry about it. You need to go outside. He's in the other room in your house. Maybe I'm going to go there, but you're right, he's in the other room, but maybe I'm going to get up. I have to go there. The door's locked. I'm going to waste my time getting up. It keeps going. Right? He has a whole bunch of examples of how the guy's, imagining things in his mind, and it stops him from getting up to go learn. It's not the fear that causes you to be lazy. It's the other way around. Being lazy is causing the fear. Because I don't really want to go, so I'm making excuses. Says, you don't believe me? Try it. All right, you'll test it out, and you'll see that I'm telling the truth. Simple. Right? Most people will tell you, that's how they behave. Okay. Someone who is thinking about this and he analyzes it, he'll find that I'm telling the truth. V'da'at navon. There I go. Da'at navon. Skip the page. Sorry. Here we go. Da'at lenavon nakil. Right. The knowledge for someone who has bina is simple. It comes forth. He's going to know that we're telling the truth. וכבר נתבאר עניין הזריזות, ביאור שאחשוב היות מספיק להערת הלב, והחכם יחכם עוד ויוסיף לקח. I think I explained it enough over here. He says the zirizut, that you need to just absorb it and use your mind a little bit, and you'll continue to understand what I'm saying. והנך רואה, כי ראוי לזריזות להיות בהדרגה Ahar hazehirut. He says now they understand that why the attribute of zirizut comes after the level of zehirut. If you remember back, zehirut was being careful in your actions and deciding in advance, is this proper to do, not proper to do? I'm always careful, right? And therefore that's the zehirut. So he says that zirizut is the next step after zehirut. Ki al harov lo ye adam zariz im lo ye zahir b'techila. You can't be proactive and run into an action to do it if you weren't first careful to make sure the action that you're going to do is proper. Right? If a guy just acts without thinking first what he's doing, to think about what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, proper or not proper, that is the attribute of zehirut, like we've learned up to this point. So how do you want me to run and desire to do an action if I'm not first sure that this is the proper action? So if I had zehirut first and I have already inspected, what I plan to do and decide it's the right thing to do, that's when I can be zariz. Now I can be proactive. Now I can run to do it, and I can be excited to do it. I can want to do it, right? I should desire to do it to connect to Hashem that way, but it doesn't work. It only works if I know that it's the right thing to do. So I need to have zehirut first, right? And then I can acquire zirizut. Hine, right? Because a person, actually I skipped the line, right? I skipped the line, sorry. קשה שילבש אהבה וחמדה אליה ויזדרז בתשוקה לפני בוראו, כי הנה הוא עודנו תובע בתאוות הגופניות ורץ מרוצת הרגלו ומרחיקו מכל זה. A person who's not Zahir, right, who's not careful in advance. So what's making him tick? What's making him tick? His desires, his physical desires, and therefore he's got used to what he's used to, and he's enjoying the pleasures that he's enjoying, and therefore to say he's going to run after his actions, that's careful. That's not so good, because again, he hasn't acquired zehirut yet, and the actions that he's involved in are not the ones you want to be running to. However, if a person now has already become educated, pakach enav means he opened his eyes. Lerot ma'asav, he investigates, says, okay, I'm going to stop doing these things. They're not proper. I'm going to focus on doing those that are, right? And now he's done that. Lerot ma'asav v'li zahir by him, to be careful. V'hashav hashbon ha'mitzvot v'avirot. He already, calculated on both sides of the equation what he should be doing, what he should not be doing, what he should be active in, and what he should stop doing, right? Kasher zachanu, like we've mentioned before. So nakel hu sheyasun min hara. Right? It will be easy for him to stop behaving improperly and to focus on behaving properly. And not only that, now that he knows it's the right action, so he's going to want to run after those actions. He wants to continue to do that. That's simple now, right? Once he breaks it down, it gets very simple. Okay, so that's the end of the midah of zirizut. So we went through so far zihirut, zirizut, and we're moving on into Perek Yod of Mesilat Yesharim about the midah of nikiut, cleanliness. Okay, we have to define what really cleanliness means. We'll see. It doesn't mean physically clean, wash my hands, cleanliness, right? So he says, midat nikiut hi heyot adam naki legamre mikol midah ra'a umikol chet. It's spiritual cleanliness. It's a person who's purifying himself from evil character traits, from bad character traits, and from sin. Lo dai mima she'achet bo mefursam vegalui. It's not, we're not talking about, something that outright is an evil sin. That's not what we're talking about over here. Okay, so hold on a second. What is that person? Okay, no problem. So it's not what we are saying is an outright evil sin, right? That's pashut. That's simple. Of course, you have to. Elagam mimasha halev niftebo lehorot heter badavar. To get to nikiut, it's also, right, things that at first you thought were okay. Your heart is telling you to do them. You have a desire to do those, right? And now you need to gain this attribute of nikiut, to inspect that desire and decide, is it coming from a place of proper thought or not? Right? It's trying to seduce me, to say, oh, this item is mutar, really. I'm allowed to do this, it's allowed. Right? When you start to really think about it, but when he stops to think about it, and he really pushes his mind into it, and he really starts to think about it, he starts to realize that the only reason he was trying to say it's mutar is because he has a desire to do it. And therefore he's trying to find an angle to say it's allowed. Because he hasn't purified himself yet. He hasn't become naki. That's why he wants to be lenient in this scenario, because he really wants to do it. He just wants to do it without having guilt. So he's trying to find a way to make it mutar. So that's the nikayon we're talking about. To be honest with yourself when you notice that it's not the right thing to do, and to say, whoa, even though I think I'm trying to find a way around it, stop for a second. Hey, this is really not the right thing to do. The person who's already pured himself from this problem, right? He's clean from any leftover evil that was there. He got rid of all those desires. He says it's like now, you went to the eye doctor and you put on glasses, you got the right prescription, and all of a sudden now you can see clearly again. You were in a fog. You couldn't see because your heart wasn't pure yet, wasn't been purified. You still have desires, physical desires to whatever it is that sin is dragging you to. You're trying to find a way to get around those, it's wrong. You're just trying to find a way that you're not going to feel guilty about it. And therefore, when you've gotten rid of all that, all of a sudden your vision is clear. Legamre. It's totally clear. You're able to discern is between what's right and wrong. Zakah, it's clear, it's pure. You're not going to have any more a desire that's going to try to seduce you to follow it. Anything that is a sin, even as the lightest of sins, takirehu, you'll be able to recognize it. Shehura, you'll notice right away that it is not the right thing to do. This is the language that rabbis use. The language that the rabbis use for a person that's purifying their actions to the highest level. A little speck, a little twist of anything, right? Nikiyah hadat shebirushalayim. They call them Nikiyah hadat, those that are pure mind in Yerushalayim. Fine. What are we getting out of this? You see from here, he says, Ata, we see hayefresh sheben hazahir vehanaki. Wow, he's going to contrast for us. Well, we started with zihirut, we went to zirizut, now we're in nikiyut. Now he's saying zahir, being careful in your actions, and naki sort of sound the same, right? So he's saying, af al pi shekirovim hem ze be'inyanam, right? Since they are similar in their purpose, hazahir wa nizhar b'ma'asav, right? He's a person who's careful with his actions. Give me a second. Okay. So he says this is a person, right, who's here. He's having asav. A person who's zahir, right, who's careful in his harbe ma'asav, he's not going to sin in something that he recognizes is a sin. Now that's the key factor. The difference between nikiyut and zihirut is that recognition. When it's clear that it's asur, then you're being zahir. But when I'm not sure, I'm trying to find a way around it because it sounds like it might be okay. That's the zihirut. That's the nikiyut kicking in. You need to make sure that it's really proper. Rabbi says, the guy who's a zahir b'ma'asav, ro'eh shelo yechta b'ma shekvar noda' lo umefusam etzel hakol heyotochet, omnam adayin eno adon be'atzmo shelo yimashech libo min ha'ta'ava ha'tev'it. He was able to recognize what's absolutely clearly a sin, but he hasn't yet purified himself to be able to stop the desires. Shelo tatehu ler'ot lo heterim. Because you have a desire, you start to think about finding a heter. Right? Those that the evil is not so clear. It's not black and white that it's really not allowed. Even though this guy's trying to, right, to conquer his inner yetzer, right, that's evil inclination, to tie up his ta'ava, right, to harness his ta'avot so that they don't take control of him. That's not going to allow him to get rid of the desire, right? He needs to figure out a way to conquer it and to follow his logic, not his desires. However, unfortunately, we're in the world of homer, right? Materialism. That's what your body is not a spiritual being. Your soul is a spiritual being. And it's that battle between your body and your soul. Your soul knows what's right. Your body wants certain things. And we need to figure out how to control that feeling, to have the soul take power. So he's telling the Zahirut, so Zahirut is there, right, to make you clean yourself from things that are very visibly wrong, the ones that are open in public. Continue to do what's proper, and then you start to run after proper mitzvot. You start to grow your love for Hashem. Desire. That you got used to now having that connection to Hashem. It's going to remove you from physical being. It's going to allow you to cling to the spiritual side of things until you're able to finally cleanse yourself fully. You're going to put out the fire of desire, your physical desire from your heart, because you're going to replace that fire of desire with love for Hashem. Ve'az tishaer ri'yato zaka u'birura. That will open your eyes. You'll be able to see clearly. Kemo shekatavte lemala shelo yefuteh. You won't be able to be seduced. Ve'lo yesigehu. Right? The materialism is not going to able to control him anymore. He will able to purify his actions from everything. This attribute, David himself was extremely excited. Going to wash my hands with nikayon. That's the one we're talking about now. I will able to surround your mizbeach. To be able to say, I'm going to stand in front of Hashem, I better be really pure, I better be really clean. So that's the person who's naki, who's both from any kind of small little nuance of a sin, he's staying away. Without that, you've got to stand in front of Hashem, and you're going to be embarrassed if you're not the right. If you don't, Elohai, like Ezra says, Boshti v'nichlamti laharim Elohai panai elecha. Hashem, I'm embarrassed, right, to raise my face up to you. And Ad Kan for this week. I hope everybody has a beautiful week. To school, take care and continue next week. Bezat Hashem. Bye bye.